Yeah, I think Juve just need to work to bring that wage bill down and more sales before any more incomings do.
Yeah, it feels like that, definitely. I think it'll be interesting their striking situation as well, because we're hearing that Dzeko was quite close to a move as we filmed this, and then Milik going to Roma to replace him. There was obviously links with Suarez, but that doesn't look like it's happening now. Giroud's also been in the frame as well. But Kulusevski's, I think, really exciting.
Yeah.
Just hopefully he gets more minutes than the likes of Bernardeschi over the last couple of years, who's now potentially going out as well, or they're trying to offload him as well. So lots of big things expected from Kulusevski. Henry, let's talk about the main competition, which to my mind is Inter Milan. Are you in agreement that Inter seem like, the most likely to challenge Juve?
Yeah, I do. I agree with you again there. I mean, I think we can't overlook just how important Romelu Lukaku is going to be up front for them again next season. And obviously they've managed to hold on to Lautaro Martinez. So that's amazing. They're going to another season with their deadly strike duo. So I think it is exciting times for Inter. And if we look at the business that they've done this summer, so obviously they sold Mauro Icardi, Andrea Pinamonti and Jan Karamoa. So these are some fringe players. And they managed to collect about £73 million for these players. And actually, I've been quite critical about the players they've brought in. They brought in Kolarov for 1.4 million, which I think had all of us kind of rolling our eyes at that. I mean, he's 34. But last season, he did score 7 times for Roma. And also, he was the most successful at pressurising the opposition attackers and stuff like that. He registered the best pressure success rate. That's what I was reading. Which is quite a surprising stat for Kolarov. So, although as a long-term solution on the left flank, he joins... I think he'll join Ashley Young to make the oldest kind of combined left wing force you'll ever see. So, I mean, it's not a long-term solution, but he's still in the short term, which is obviously what Antonio Conte looks for. That's he could actually be quite a benefit there. But they have also made permanent the signings of Sensi and Barella as well. So there's some young players coming through. And obviously the really exciting signing is Achraf Hakimi from Real Madrid. I think this is an absolute steal for £36 million. He's 21 years old. We all know how good he was at Borussia Dortmund. I mean, last season he played 41 League and Champions League games, and he scored 9 goals and created 10 assists, which is nuts. If we just look at his stats a bit closer, 3 tackles and interceptions, 1.3 shots, 1.2 key passes, and the big one I think is 2.4 dribbles per 90. So he's going to be up and down that flank. He was one of the most progressive players in the whole of the Bundesliga last season, I think only behind David Alaba, and I was writing about that recently. So yeah, he could be a real star for them down that flank, and I think that's what they need. If they're going to go on the age route on the other side, I think Hakimi could really be kind of that speed down the right wing they need, and a massive step up on Victor Moses, who they have anyway. But if we look back at last season as well, they only finished 1 point behind Juventus. I mean, if we remember, they all sort of stuttered towards the end of the season in Serie A. None of them quite took the initiative. At one point, Atalanta could have gone for it. At another point, Inter could have gone for it. But they all sort of fell off. But they only finished 1 point behind, which is good. They hit 82 points, which is the same as what they got in their treble-winning campaign in 2009-10. Another point we should make is that they only lost 4 league games, which is the best record in the league. That's 2 fewer than the next best, Atalanta. So they were solid. They did draw quite a lot. But the thing that Antonio Conte has been looking for is that energy throughout the whole season. I think they really struggled to maintain the kind of velocity that he looks for in his sides. I wrote a scout report about Inter Milan to do with their form before and after December. And there was a massive drop-off in the 10 games before December and the 10 games after December, where players like Brozovic began to be more sloppy on the ball, wasn't able to get in the positions he wanted to as often as he had been. And that's just because the lack of depth they had, particularly in the midfield, meant that they were often sort of running out of steam as kind of the demanding way that Antonio Conte, I think it's called the Grinta mentality, I think that's what it's called. But yeah, they really struggled to sort of meet his demands the longer the season went, which is why I think although Arturo Vidal, it's another bit of a silly signing again, in many people's opinion, when they could have signed Sandro Tonali. He would still provide them with that energy in the midfield to keep going, at least in the short term anyway. So I think it is really exciting for Inter Milan still. They've got Conte back on board for another season. They've made some solid additions to the squad, some young, some old. And yeah, I think I'm not overly keen on the business that Juventus has done. I think the most exciting part of their summer is bringing in that Swedish winger again, Kulusevski. I think that's going to be really exciting. But the rest of that, I think Inter Milan, if they can sustain the energy which they approached the beginning, certainly of Serie A last season, if they can sustain that the whole way through, and if he can keep harmony in the squad, I think, Alexis Sanchez could get back to his best. You never know with him. I think it could be really exciting. But yeah, I mean, as we'll look at the rest of the teams in Serie A, it's going to be a really mixed season, I think. But Inter Milan is certainly up there.
Absolutely. And, Christian Eriksen will have longer to adapt. There's already rumours that it's not going so well for him and Conte. There was talk about Skriniar leaving. That doesn't look like it's going to happen either. So Inter Milan, I would say, are in a pretty good place. And it seems like Conte, with the signing of Vidal rather than Tonali, it's just being like, this is our year. We're going to win the league this year. I don't really care about the long-term project of the club. I'm here to win, which is Conte's mentality. Chris, another team that we've got to put in the mix and talk about is Atalanta. Now, Atalanta really came to sort of Europe-wide attention last year with their run in the Champions League. But you and Pat mainly have been banging the drum for them for years, I would say. I mean, do you feel like this year they could finally go one step further?
Yes, I have banged on about Atalanta, Dukes, and for very good reason. I firmly believe they should have won a Scudetto, at least under Gasperini. They've played the best football in Italy in the past 3 or 4 seasons. He's consistently turned league average players into absolute worldies. There's been various junctures of the season they've averaged over 3 goals a game, sort of on a par with Bayern Munich, PSG, and you don't necessarily see that breakneck play in Serie A. He's kind of challenged the whole culture at the top of that league, and as such, I would love to see them win the league. However, do have my reservations this time round. It feels like that opportunity may have slipped through their fingers, not necessarily their own doing, because they're overperforming given how much they're paying the squad and how much they can spend on talent in the summer. Just to give you some perspective, I think their wages are around 13th in the league, but they're consistently up there, aren't they? Obviously, Ilicic was instrumental at various points throughout last campaign. It did drop off when he kind of experienced personal problems off the field, bless him, towards the end of the season. And his physical kind of form is not great. It's kind of deteriorating a little bit as time goes on. I mean, he's had a renaissance in recent years, but he is known as grandma in and around Bergamo because he's consistently injured or because he wants to come off after 45 to 60 minutes. So whether or not he'll be able to replicate that same form is difficult to tell. So they're gonna have to bring in some influential players, or someone's going to have to really step up to fill that void. I mean, last season, topped the table for expected points. They scored 98 league goals, 18 more than Inter Milan. They had the 5th best defence throughout. They conceded around the same amount of goals as 10th place Fiorentina. So, sure, they can shore up at the back, but I'm not sure I want them to change, to be perfectly honest. The summer so far have been pretty quiet. Castagna and Mancini have left for Leicester and Roma for a combined £33 million. I think they bought Castagna for £5 million from Genk. So to turn that much profit on him, considering the limited amount of minutes he's played, is fantastic business from Atalanta. I think it's not that I think Leicester have been scalped, but I think that's a very good deal. Considering, Pasalic, who's been great for them, has come in for 13 mil. Christian Romero has come in from Juventus, the highly rated centre-half we were referencing earlier. And Miranchuk has come in from Lokomotiv Moscow for around 13. I don't know much about him. Can't say I watch a lot of Russian football, other than he's a 24-year-old attacking midfielder, contributed 15 goals in 27 Russian Premier League games last campaign. He's got at least 8 goal contributions for the past 4 seasons, so he's maybe been one whose stock has kind of been in the ascendancy, and he looks like he can take that step up. Gasperini generally has a very good nose for attacking players, doesn't he? In 1920, his stats were, qualified him for a move. 3.1 shots per 90, 2.7 key passes, almost 2 dribbles, an expected goals and assist value of 0.8. So maybe he is the Ilicic replacement, or maybe he's Papu Gomez's long-term heir. Who knows? But I'm excited about their chances, but if they can get anywhere near the same sort of level as they did last campaign, then they'd have done really, really well.